Well, hi friends, I'm Brian Cosby. This is Provider Protect, and today I want to take you on a tour of an amazing dream shop. So let's head on in. Hey Rick.
Hi there, come in the shop.
So this is Rick. He is my father-in-law, and he's got this amazing dream shop here. And I thought I'd take you guys on a tour and maybe give you some ideas in your shop. So Rick, you bought this property a number of years ago, several years ago,
Right.
And it came with this shop. And my question is, when you are looking at the house to buy, I know there's other factors that go into buying a house, but
Right.
how important was it to you that it had this kind of big shop here?
I didn't even go in the house. I mean, this is the 30 by 40 pole barn, uninsulated, but it was perfect size, as you can see, for a combination of things I've got in here. But I didn't even, as long as my wife was happy with the house.
The house.
I'm
You're good with the shop.
All right. So
for a long time, you've been making furniture, you've been doing woodwork, and we'll look at some of it, looks like today. And obviously you had to, when you moved here, you had to bring a lot of this up here.
I did.
And was there a reason for the layout that you have in the shop? Did you think about, I don't know, just the flow of the shop?
Well, I partitioned it off. This quadrant of could potentially turn into like a one-person or two-person little barn dominium room.
Yeah.
With a bed, a Murphy bed, a kitchen. I've got plumbing over there.
Okay.
And so that was this quadrant. This quadrant that we're in right here is my exercise and electronics workshop quadrant.
Yeah.
And
I know at least one of my sons likes this.
Oh yeah.
He's actually filming right now.
Right. And then this back half is my wood shop and whatever metal work I do, which is not a lot.
Okay.
But the main thing that I did to improve this shop when I moved in was this floor. And this floor is a polyspartic coating, and it is absolutely amazing.
So as far as upgrades, when you moved in,
that's what I did.
This was the big upgrade.
That was the big upgrade.
Okay.
I put power. I had to run power in and put frame that one wall in, so that the barn is on its own power meter.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to do that because these are three phase. I didn't want to tap off of the main line from.
So let me ask you about the floor real quick, because a lot of people might be curious about this floor here. You had to level this first, right?
I did.
Why did you feel that was important to level the floor out?
Well, and unfortunately, in this particular floor, they needed, when I moved in here, they needed one more load of concrete.
Yeah.
And they decided to make it work, and it was about 6 inches lower.
Over there in that corner?
In that corner. And so my equipment was, this equipment is a precision equipment, it needs to be on a level 4.
Yeah. So some of you guys may want to do a shop that is more geared toward construction or home projects, that kind of thing. And you do some of that, but you mainly do a lot of furniture and building things that like toys and other things like that as well.
Yeah.
But come on over here. Let me show you this that he's working on that I just saw. It looks like a table that
dining room table
that he's building right now. What kind of wood is this here?
That's red oak, and that design has removable legs because it's really heavy.
Ah.
So
and you built this whole thing obviously in here, using the machines in here.
Right.
So you looks like you've got a couple of tables around here. This is probably maybe your main.
That's my hand tool table.
Hand tool table.
Yeah, this is where I like to use hand
Hoffman.
planes. Yeah, it's a German-made bench.
Couple kind of vices.
Yeah, it's got a tail vise and a shoulder vise.
Okay.
And this is one of the things I do with it is just plane off edges of wood.
Yeah.
And so you get it nice and
So
smooth.
you got these dogs on here to hold it in place.
Right. And the tail vise.
Yep.
And that's the big thing when you're planing something is you need something to hold down your target, your wood there. And so that's the.
So this is what you mainly work on for
I
hand
spend
tools.
almost all of the time on this bench right here.
Yeah,
These two benches here are more like flat files for me. I do my sharpening of my plane irons and with chisels and knives over here. I store my clamps over here, and then this bench is also where we do some kids stuff. This is
nice.
This is a hatchet that
that's awesome.
One of my grandsons and my son worked on.
Yeah.
And this is a knife that one of your sons is working on. He needs to do a little more work on it. But and so this is their clamp. So this is kind of my apprentice.
So that's an important question. So for a lot of dads, granddads, they want to have a space to let their sons or their grandsons work and make things, do projects.
Right.
And
absolutely.
It seems to me, I mean, in this whole channel, provide and protect, and we're thinking about providing, and there's an aspect of provision. It's not just monetary provision that we talk about.
Right.
There's other kinds of provision in providing skills and knowledge and wisdom.
Teach them how to fish.
Teach them how to fish. That's right. And it seems like you do that here often.
Yeah. Well, that workbench, that electronic workbench over there is primarily used for teaching.
Yeah.
I've got teenagers interested in learning electronics.
Yeah. So for a lot of people watching this, they probably don't have how big did you say this shop was?
Size 1,200 square feet.
1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of folks will not have that much space here. What would you say? Maybe top 3, 4, if they wanted to get into more fine woodworking or this kind of thing,
right.
and they only had, let's say, a garage, maybe one side of a garage to turn into a workshop.
Right.
And you've done that before.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say would be maybe the most essential tools to have in a space like that?
Right. So you got to have one good workbench.
Okay.
A minimum.
Is that kind of an anchor point?
Yeah. I mean, that's where you start. You know, I built this workbench right here with hand tools.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, well, I need a workbench. If I'm not willing to put the time and effort in to build myself a workbench, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
And so that's actually a Bob Vila design.
Oh, yeah.
But
so you'd say you'd start there.
Build a workbench.
As an anchor.
Yeah, that has a vise, at least one vise,
mm-hmm.
because you've only got 2 of these things.
Yeah.
And after that, the next piece of equipment, let's forget about this for a second, would be a table saw.
Okay.
And I would go ahead and get the best saw stop table saw you can get.
Yeah.
I mean,
so quality is important.
I've almost cut my fingers off.
So for a lot of people that don't know, the saw stop feature of a table saw, what is that?
It prevents you from cutting your fingers off.
There's probably been a lot of people that
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great feature. It's not cheap, but it's cheaper than a new finger or losing your finger.
Yeah. You know, I've seen those videos of someone doing like a hot dog.
Oh, man.
And they'll put the blades going.
Yeah, it sacrifices your blade.
Sacrifice your blade. Okay.
Yeah. What it does is it slams a big old chunk of plastic right into your blade, and it just your blade's done.
It stops.
But doesn't bend the arbor on your motor.
Okay.
And you can reload put a new piece of plastic block in there and put a new blade in there, and
that's it.
You didn't go to the emergency room.
Yeah. Okay. So, there's probably a lot of people that are thinking not only the types of tools to get, but the cost. You mentioned getting a high quality.
Yeah.
And, maybe someone couldn't afford that, but even if they couldn't afford the highest quality table saw, you'd still say a table saw, it would be one of the first tools to get. Even still.
I mean, you need a table saw. First, number one, you don't have to justify the expense of your toys. Okay, so
please hear that and share that with your wives.
Yeah. So, And if you get a good tool, you won't have to replace it. If you're trying to budget too much, you're going to end up buying that tool twice, and the second time you're going to get the good one. So
be more expensive in the long run.
Yeah, just go ahead and get the good one to start with, and be done with it. It'll last you a lifetime.
Yeah. All right. So after a table saw, what would you?
Bandsaw.
Bandsaw.
Now
So you got one over here. Come on over.
This is a 16-inch bandsaw. So this, I like.
This is legit here.
A Mini Max 5 horsepower, 16-inch bandsaw. It's made by a company called SEM. Italians turned out make pretty good equipment. So it's really solid. It's got a lot of horsepower. It's good for resawing. It's good for doing toys.
Yeah.
Depends on the blade. Right now we have a thin blade on there.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to get a 16-inch to start. 14 is probably good enough.
Yeah.
So a good table saw and a 14-inch bandsaw.
Okay.
From just a standing tool perspective, and then
what would you say would be number 3 on your list after table saw?
For the big
after
big
table
tool?
Yeah, after table saw and a bandsaw.
Oh well, and then now I've got to talk about this machine for a second.
Yeah, this is a whole nother level right here.
Right. This is another Italian made.
And this does several features. I mean, this has several features. So maybe someone can't buy this whole machine, obviously, but maybe they can get one part of this tool here.
Well, this is the table saw portion right here.
Yep.
And this table saw actually comes, scoot this way with it.
Mm-hmm.
Comes with a sliding table. So if you want to cut plywood, if you want to cross cut a piece of wood, you can just load it here on this table.
Yeah.
Clamp it down with this big clamp, turn on your table saw, and slide it through.
And the whole thing. And that's another reason that you wanted to have a level floor, right?
Exactly.
For this?
Yes. This has to be on a level floor.
Okay.
And so that slides right through. My hands are nowhere near the blade.
Yeah.
That hold down is holding everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a wonderful fence with a bunch of different stops on it, so you can adjust the stops. It's heavy duty. SCM 300 CU machine right here. Another one from Mini Max.
Okay.
All right, so table saw. European style, they call it. So that's the table saw. Underneath here is a spindle shaper, and I'm not going to pull it out, but a spindle shaper is a gigantic router.
Okay.
And so you can make doors. One of the more challenging things to make is a wooden door for your house.
Yeah.
And that thing, you can put the proper bits on that and just make doors like crazy. But the queen of this whole setup, so that's 2 pieces of equipment in one.
Okay.
The queen is this thing right here on top. This is a planer joiner. And the top of this is called the joiner.
Okay.
And what you can do with this is you can take wood that's not flat and has a twist in it, and you can make it flat and take the twist out of it. So gives you a lot of flexibility on what type of wood you can use. Cheaper, buy wood from a peckerwood sawmill that's not planed, and you can plane it. So anyway, that's the joiner. That gets one side flat. Then you can put it up against a 90-degree fence. Now you have a 90-degree. And so now if you want them all the same thickness, this converts, this table lifts up.
Yeah.
And underneath here, Garrett, you feed is a planer, a thickness planer.
Oh yeah.
And so you can have all the pieces of wood that you want to put together. You can have the surfaces completely smooth.
Yeah.
And the same thickness, so that when you glue them together, you don't have any, I mean, you still see some glue, but you don't have any spaces because everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So you can dimension your lumber to whatever degree of accuracy you want. You can do precision work with this machine. So, it doesn't take up much room. It's a combo.
Kind of like a philosophy here of use and, for a workshop. And again, kind of coming back to that principle of being a man, being someone who provides, that you can take a piece of wood
Yeah.
And theoretically, you know, especially if you had like a little chainsaw mill like I've got or something,
Right.
you could literally go out, get a tree,
Make,
cut, and then make something
make
yourself
something.
rather than just
Right.
going to the store. And you know, a lot of the
Right.
stuff that's made, it's just so cheap
Right.
at, you know, Walmart or wherever else, and
Yeah.
it's just particle board or something else, MDF, and it's just going to break, and you kind of expect it to break or not last.
It's
But
made to work for a year.
yeah, and then it's finished.
Then buy it again.
But and then if you want to buy something that's actually, I mean, this right here, if you were to buy this from a nice store somewhere, I
Yeah.
mean, 2,000,
Probably.
probably something like that.
Yeah. Solid oak.
Solid oak, and so, but to be able to make it yourself is quite, I mean, quite an accomplishment, and something I think is probably good for any man, at least know the basics of how to
Yeah.
do something like this. I guess
Yeah.
you've used, I guess, various magazines and designs and
Right.
things over the years
Right.
to construct some
Well,
things.
the biggest thing I had was a Mr. Griffin.
Yeah.
I had a Mr. Griffin.
Who is Mr. Griffin?
Mr. Griffin. Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that showed me how to use all of this equipment. I mean, it's great to have all this equipment, but how do you use it?
Yeah.
And what order do you do it
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
And what kind of things do you need to look out for?
Like the
And
little tips that are not
yeah,
going to be in a magazine or a
right.
book.
It's apprenticeship. So
Yeah.
I was an apprentice under Mr. Griffin and learned how to use these things and learned, you know, about measuring stuff and how precise you need to mark it. I mean, there's some things that you make that you need to mark with a razor blade.
It's that precise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to mark it with a razor blade because,
Yeah.
and then of course, you know, I don't have a small box out right now, but I'd like to do hand cut dovetails.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So it looks like around the shop here, you've
yeah,
got some shelving
yeah,
for some lumber,
right,
and I actually have something very similar to this shelf over here.
right,
I've got a video on, and I love having that up, you
yeah,
know, off the floor and all
exactly.
that. And you looks like you've got some shelves over here with some.
That came with the barn.
It came with the barn.
Yeah, I left those up, and I'm trying to use them. They're not exactly the right form factor for what I need, but I haven't. I wanted to get up and making furniture, so I figured I could use those in situ and leave them there.
Yeah.
I built the electronics bench. I didn't build that. I built that. I built this.
Yeah.
I built that.
Yeah.
And then we didn't talk about the little office area over there.
So come over here. This is actually actually pretty fascinating, and I think a very neat thing to have in a shop, because sometimes as a guy you need to go out to the shop and spend some time thinking,
Yeah.
planning, and so Rick has a little table over here. He's got some books, just a place to
Now to do drone work.
do drone work.
I've got a drone over here that he flies for me.
Yeah, so you got some stuff over here, and you come out here to think, to do some work and planning and design,
right?
All that, and you need a
drafting table.
You gotta have a
T-square
space to do that. For a lot of guys, the big thing is to, you know, create a man cave somewhere, but really, man cave is for personal entertainment. This is for productivity.
Yeah,
this is for actually being productive and making something with what you
do
have.
something for yourself.
Yeah, do something.
Learn something new.
Learn something new for yourself, for your family. But what a great space.
Yeah, this is just I love it
now,
out here.
As far when it gets like in the dead of winter
Mm-hmm.
and it gets cold in here,
I come out here anyway. I use that. I use.
What do you do? What do you have?
I've got a Mr. Heater and a dual 20-gallon propane tank on a dolly, and I just wherever I'm working, I just roll that over to where I'm working, and it follows me around like a little puppy dog.
That's pretty cool. It's a great idea. And I guess you got fans and
and in the summertime it gets warm, and this is a monster. In fact, you helped me put this up.
Yeah.
This is
that is a big fan.
Yeah, it's gonna. Sometimes it might blow something away you don't want it to blow away. But
well, this is so awesome. And you got dust collection system. I mean, that's
that's the biggie for me. These devices over here, the saw, and my CU 300. Dust collection's a big deal. So
Yeah.
there's a 1.5 horsepower jet, old
Yeah.
school.
Is this one you had before you moved
Moved
up
up
here?
here? Yeah, I had that.
Okay.
This is a cyclone separator, and what happens is the large chunks, like from the joiner and the
They
planers,
fall.
they fall in here, and just the very light dust goes in there. And then when this fills up, you just empty it. In fact, I just emptied it. But it captures everything from these big machines right here.
Yeah.
And then my hand tools, I use Festool hand tools because they're good and they have good dust collection. And I've got to go to Festool on that. I wish I didn't. I did try to not use Festool on that because it's so expensive. But before you came, I blew all that dust out because this just covers up in dust.
So I'm sure that you've used different kinds of brands for various things.
I do.
And you really like Festool.
I do.
They
don't make everything perfect, but they do a good job. They do a good job. I use a domino joinery a lot on this piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it on these are the legs for the benches that are going to go, and I'm going to join the rails to these legs with floating tenons with a domino joiner. So it's amazing. Very, very efficient.
Yeah.
I love hand cut mortise and tenons. Yeah. Just takes longer.
Yeah. In some ways, when I look at this shop, it's a multi-purpose kind of shop because you've got your design, kind of workbench area over here, or not workbench, but your office area over here. You got your electrical area over here. Lab. He's an engineer, so he's got his electrical equipment over here, and then you got your workshop over here, and you can make. And of course,
I was going to say, how have you not been waiting for the foosball table?
Yeah, the foosball table in here too. I mean, you got to have a little fun when you're doing this, and a little treadmill. So I mean, a shop of this size, you can do that kind of thing.
It is.
It can have
amazing.
A multi-purpose space like this.
Right.
Well, fantastic. Well, Rick, thanks so much.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
I hope you did some good out of this.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing shop. Well, what an amazing shop. If you've not already done so, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.